Begin today the Gemara on Daf Chof Aleph Amud Beis, the last line on the bottom of the page. This is actually in the middle of an inyan, in the middle of a brayse. It brings here about Ezra, how great Ezra was, that he was on the level of Moshe Rabbeinu. He was able to give Yidden the Torah. And this is all continuing from what the Gemara said before, that there was a change in the language that Yidden used for learning Torah. In the beginning, they had the language, it says Lashon Ivri, which is a different ksav. The letters are different, and you have it even. You can see it on old coins. You have until today the kutim in Eretz Yisrael. They use this language, this writing, what I mentioned before, the kutim, but then it changed to what we have today. The way the Torah is written, the ksav ashuris, the lettering of the Torah that we have today. Now I mentioned yesterday, most Rishonim say that the luchais, the Sefer Torah, that was always written in ksav ashuris, but b'chlal, everybody, what was the language that they wrote in? They didn't use the lettering of the Sefer Torah that we have today. They used different kinds of lettering. It's larger lettering, it's different. Okay, but then, by the time of Ezra, it came back. They changed it back. So that's what the Gemara is talking about here. Okay, let's continue. The bottom of the page. So the Torah was not given through Ezra, but Nishtan al Yodai. But the Torah did change through him, meaning the language of the Torah did change through him. Aksav, that is, sorry. Ishtan al Yadi Aksav. The Ksavs changed through him, the way they write the letters. Shenemar, this is based on what the Pasuk says, Uksav hanishtavan, that there was a Ksav that they wrote, which was Nishtavon, Kosav Aramis. It was written in Aramis, Umetorgum Aramis, and it was translated in Aramis. Now, the word Nishtavon here means it's that there was a change in the writing. This was a letter that the people wrote in that time. I think it was to Belshazzar, or maybe to, what does it say over here? They wrote a letter to the king of Paras in that time to say that he shouldn't. I believe they wrote him a letter not about the Yidden, not to build the Beis Hamikdash, and they wrote to him this letter with a different writing, not the way they used to write until that point. It was changed. What was changed? It was Ksav Aramis. Now, this Ksav Aramis that it says here actually refers to the Ksav Ashuris, which is the Ksav of the Sefer Torah that we have today. The Gemara calls it Aramis because it came from Aram or Ashur. The Gemara will soon say where this Ksav Ashuris came from.
Syria.
Umetorgum Aramis, and it was written in Aramaic. That's the way this letter was written. Just like Ezra itself and Daniel, the psukim there are all written in Aramis, in Aramaic. That's one source where we see that it changed back to Aramis from the Ksav Ivri that they had before. Another source is, Uksiv, the pasuk says that Loi kahalin ksavel mikre o pishra loidol malka, that this writing, they couldn't read it and they couldn't explain it to the king what it says. What is this talking about? This was talking about by Belshazzar. He made a big, massive party and he brought out the kelim of the Beis Hamikdash. And a malach came down and wrote on the wall a message. And the message that he wrote on the wall was written in a writing that they weren't familiar with, and they couldn't explain it to the king. Why? Because until then, the writing in Lashon Kodesh or for Yidden, it was written b'ksav Ivri, and then they changed it now to ksav Ashuris, to this writing that we have, the way the Sefer Torah is written today. And because it was a different writing, so they couldn't make out the words. That's what the pasuk is saying there. So we see that in that time period, this was before the second Beis Hamikdash was going to be built, it changed back. Oksev, now the source for this, we see a Remes and Chumash for this. It says Kosav is Mishnah Torah Azais, that you write a Mishnah Torah. What does the word Mishnah Torah here mean? Ksav Haroy Leishtanis. It's the Ksav of the Torah that could change or will change in the future. So that's what it means here. So Yidden, up to a certain period, used Ksav Ivri, and now here, by the time of Ezra, when they came to build the second Beis Hamikdash, it changed back to Ksav Ashuris, or the Gemara before called it Ksav Aramis. And here the Gemara says, Lama Nikra Ashuris. According to this pshat, why is it called Ashuris? Sha'alei ma'ama Asher. Because this new lettering they got from when they came from Asher. That's when the Malach wrote it on the wall for Belshazzar, this lettering. And then this lettering, to write it this way, the Yidden started writing this way. So it's called Ashuris because it came with them from Asher. But it wasn't a lettering from Asher. As I said, this is really the way the luchas are written in this lettering in the Sefer Torah. Elamai, but they weren't using this for all the years. Now they started using this ksav. Now, another brayse the Gemara brings another opinion about this. Tanya, in a brayse we learned, Rebbe says, In the beginning, it was this ksav, the ksav ashuris, the way we have the Sefer Torah written today. This is the ksav that the Torah was given to the Yidden with. Now, kivin shachato, then when Yidden sinned, nepach lehen l'royetz. So then this became a royetz for them. This, in other words, it got crushed, it got forgotten by them, for them. Huh?
A splinter for them.
Yeah, a splinter for them. It got forgotten, basically. And kivin shachazru behen, then when Yidden did tshuva, hichzira lehem. The Eibishter gave them back this writing and to be able to write the ksav ashuris. Shenemar, and we see this in the pasuk. It says, "Shuva levitzarim, return to your fortified cities. Asirei atikva, the ones that are in prison, but they have their hope to come back to Eretz Yisrael. Gam hayom, today as well. Magid Mishnah, I tell you, Magid Mishnah means I'm going to tell you what you forgot. The Mishnah over here is going back to the lashon we said before. What was changed? That language that was changed. Ashav locha, I will return to you." So Rabbi here says, we see from this pasuk that the Yidden got back this language at this time because they did tshuva. Now, when it says here, according to Rabbi, Lama Nikra Shema Ashuris, what's the name Ashuris? A different shot. Not that it came from Asher, but it means Shema Usheres Biksav. It's the best, it's the nicest, it's the most beautiful writing. I think the Rambam says that the writing of the letters of Lashon Kodesh, each letter is written for itself. Then in other languages, the letters are attached to one another, the way you write them. Over here, each letter has its beautiful shape and size and the way it's written for itself. That's the meaning of Ksav Ashuris. Another opinion, Rab Shimon ben Elazar, Mishum Rab Eliezer ben Pratesh, Amma Mishum Rab Elazar Mudoi, Ksav Ze Loi Nishtane Kolike. No, the Ksav that we have today, the way we write the lettering of the Aleph Beis, never changed. It was always the same. Shenema, it says in the pasuk, Vovei Ha'amudim. Vovei Ha'amudim refers actually to the hooks of the poles around the courtyard of the Mishkan. So why are they called Vovim? Because the hooks are in the shape of a Vav. That's why they're called Vavim. So the fact that it says Vave, it means that the shape of the letter was then Vavim, and today the Vav, we have the same shape of the letter, that didn't change. And we compare it to the Amudim themselves. Ma Amudim loy nishtanu, just like the poles themselves did not change. Av Vavim loy nishtanu. The Vavim, which are called that because they're the shape of the letter of a Vav, never changed. And the same with all the letters of the Aleph Beis, they never changed. V'aymer, and in another proof, it says in the Megillah, V'la Yehudim kiksavam u'kalishaynam. And for the Yidden, like their writing and like their language, just like their language never changed, even though the Gemara before said that it did change to Aramis, but apparently that was only temporarily. But the Yidden always had Lashon Kodesh. So too the lettering of the Aleph Beis never changed, like it said before, according to other opinions before, that they had Ksav Ivri, then it went back to Ksav Ashuris, it never changed. So now, according to this opinion, Elamani Mekayim is Mishnah Torah Zais. The Gemara before brought when it says Mishnah Torah, that's the source that it did change. How does this opinion of Shimon ben Elazar explain those words? So this is something else we already said before regarding a king. L'shtei Teiris. This is referring to the fact that a king has to write two Teiris for himself. Achas, one is Sheyetziv and Echneses Imoi. One the king has with himself all the time, and he goes in, he goes out to battle. And another Sefer Torah that he keeps in his Beis Gnazav and stored away. Now, Isa Sheyetziv and Echneses Imoi, the one that comes in and out with him wherever he goes, Isa Kimin Kameya, it's made like an amulet, it's like a small Sefer Torah, and he hangs it on his arm. Shanama, the pasuk says, Shivisi Hashem lenegdi samid. Hashem is in front of my eyes constantly. That's this small Sefer Torah that the Melech has. Yeah, according to this opinion, Shivisi Hashem refers, it's pasuk in Tehillim, but it refers to this Sefer Torah that a king has. Now, v'idach, according to the other opinion, how do we translate Shivisi Hashem? The other opinion says Mishnah Torah does not refer to writing a second Torah. It's referring to this, that the language changed or the writing changed. So, what is Shivisi Hashem referring to? Hi Shivisi Mai Darishbei, Hahumi Bayale. According to him, the Shivisi Hashem the Negdi Samud is darshan as follows: Keder Rav Chana bar Bizna, Damer Rav Chana bar Bizna, Damer Rav Shimon Chasida, Mispalel. When one davens, Tzarech Sheyira Atzmai Ki Yilu Shchina Kenegdai. He should daven and should see the Shchina right across of him. Shanema Shivisi Hashem lenegdi Tamid. So this is the more familiar pshat that you're probably thinking of, that refers to davening. That when you daven, you have to see the Eibishter right in front of you, and you're speaking to the Eibishter. There's a famous pshat of the Baal Shem Tov also, Shivisi Hashem lenegdi samad. When you daven, what does it mean? You see the Eibishter right in front of you. The Shivisi, everything's behishtabos. That whatever happens to a person, whatever goes on, it's all, you accept it all as one and the same, because it's coming from one Eibishter, that it's all hishtabos. Yeah. Okay, now going back to what we said before, so the source of the fact that the language changed, the writing that is, that the writing changed was from where? from the story that I brought before, by the party that Belshazzar made, and the Malach came down and wrote a writing on the wall, and they couldn't explain what was written on the wall. Why not? If they always had the same writing in Lashon Kodesh, why couldn't they explain it? The answer is, before the Gemara said, because originally they were writing B'Lashon Ivri, they had different lettering, and then it was written on the wall B'Lashon Ashuris, and so they couldn't make it out. But now the Gemara says, L'Rab Shimon, according to Rab Shimon,
that's before
the time of Ezra. Yeah, right before Ezra, yeah. So Rab Shimon, or according to Rab Shimon ben Elazar, that we just said, the Amak Ksav Zeh Lo Nishtana, that the Ksav never changed. So my Loi Kahalen Ksav Ala Mikre. What does it mean that this Ksav that the Malach wrote on the wall by Belshazzar, why couldn't they read it? So here the Gemara brings a few pshatim. Even if it was the same lettering, because the writing never changed, but it was written in a cryptic manner. Amarav, so Rav says the reason is begematria ichtiv lahain. It was written begematria. Now the word gematria here does not mean the numerical value of it, but the gematria over here means an exchange. The letters were exchanged. How were they exchanged? So we know that you can line up the letters at bash. You can exchange an aleph with a tav, the beis with a shin, and so to the gimel with a reish. So over here, the message that was written for Belshazzar was written in that system of exchange letters, and therefore ichtiv lohem, what was written on the wall was yatas adach pugchamat. That's what those letters were. Now what they couldn't make out what these letters mean because it was really exchanged letters. So my parishluhu. So what did he explain them? What did these letters mean? Who was the one that explained it? I think it was Daniel, right? Daniel. What did he explain? Belshazzar. What is it saying here? That the way to read these letters is Mane, or maybe you read it Mene. 1 second. See over here the Mene, Tekel, Uparsen. That's how you have to make out the words. If you exchange it with the system of Adbash, that's what it comes out to be. Now, what was he saying? What was the message that the Malach was writing for Belshazzar? Mene means Mene Elokah Malchusach. The Eivishter is taking count of your kingdom, and v'hashlam aslach, and your kingdom is, or v'hashlam alach, your kingdom is done, meaning it's coming to an end. And he actually passed. He died that night. Whoa. And takel tekilta b'miznaya, and the Eivishter is weighing your actions or what you're doing in a scale, v'hishtakches chaser, and it came out that you're lacking. And therefore, prisas malchusach, or parsim prisas malchusach, your kingdom will be cut up, divided, v'yavis l'bmadei paras, and it'll be divided between madei and paras that will take over your kingdom. And that's, as I mentioned, he died that night. That was the Belshazzar. Yeah. So that's what it means. Menei, Abish is taking count. Takel means he's weighing. Uparsim, and he's cutting up. He's going to cut up your kingdom. Okay, now another version of why the letters that were written, they weren't able to make it out. Shmuel says that what was written here was Mamtus Nantkefi A'alaram. That's what was written. That's why they couldn't make it out. Now, how exactly was this written? Instead of writing the letters straight across the page, the way it was written is, if you take the words that were mentioned before, Menei, Takel, so if you write these words down, if you write it from top to bottom, you just write one letter from one word, then another letter below, another letter below. If you write it from up down, so then if you then right near it, you write the other words from top down. You're gonna get these words over here. Mamtas Nantkefi Alaron. Just take a look at these three words. Mamtas Nantkefi Alaron. So the mem, nun, and the aleph of these three words are those are the three letters that make up the word menei. Mm-hmm. Because what happened is, instead of writing menei, mem, nun, aleph, one right near the other, you write mem, and then on the bottom of it a nun, and then bottom of it a aleph. And then you go the next row over, and now you write the next word, menei, mem, nun, aleph, right near it. So you get mam, and then you continue writing the continuation word, takal. You write the tof right near the two mems that you just wrote on the top line. So like this, you continue writing, you end up getting these words that you have over here. They have a picture in some of the Gemaras. I saw the picture. I think in that Gemara they have a picture of how it was written. Yeah, okay. A third, yeah, exactly. They have it over there, the picture. Okay. V'Rabbi Yechanan Amar, a third version of how this was written. It was written Anam Lakes Nisrafu. Okay, so the way it was written is, so okay, what was over here was all written just backwards basically. Each one of the words, instead of being written from right to left, it was written from left to right. As you see, each word, you read it backwards. Menei, takal, uparsin. So the whole entire word was written backwards. All 3 or 4 words, and that's why they couldn't make it out. Rav Ashi Amar, another shitte, how it was written, that nemei katal porsin, which is almost written the way it should be. The only thing that was exchanged here is the first 2 letters of the word. The mem after the nun, the taf after the kuf, the vav after the pei. So because of the first 2 letters were mixed, so they couldn't make out what it was saying. Again, regarding a king, the honor of the king, the fear you have to have from a king, you're not allowed to ride on his horse. You're not allowed to sit on his throne. You're not allowed to use his scepter. You're not allowed to be there when the king is getting a haircut. Not when he's undressed. Not when he's in the bathhouse. It says a double lashon, same tasim. You should place him upon you in a way that he should be powerful. He should be a powerful rulership, and it should be with fear. Amar Rav Yaakov, Amar Rav Yechanan, Avishag muteres l'shleima. Avishag, which was by David HaMelech, and she served David HaMelech, as the Gemara is soon going to bring the story. So she belonged to David HaMelech. In other words, she was a servant of David HaMelech. But nevertheless, to Shlomo HaMelech, she was mutter for Shlomo HaMelech to use her as well, or to get married to her. But she was aser to another son of David, which is Adoniah. Why? Muteres l'Shlomo, she was allowed to Shlomo HaMelech because the Melech, because Shlomo HaMelech himself was a king. He's the one that's taking over David HaMelech. One king is allowed to use the scepter of another king. But she was forbidden to get married to Adoniah because they had to. Because Adoniah was not supposed to take over the kingdom, and he's just a commoner. Now Avishag Mahi, who was this Avishag? Avishag is what it says in the beginning of Malachim, that Va'melech David Zaken Baba Yomim V'Gomer, when David HaMelech was in his old age, Vayemer Loi Avodav Yivakshu V'Gomer, that they should bring for the king a girl that will come and serve him. Oksiv Vayivakshu Nara Yafa V'Gomer, Oksiv Hanara Yafa Ad Mahoi Vatila Melech Sekenes Vatishaseyu, and she'd serve David HaMelech. That's what who Avishag was, and this is the point that it said before, that she was a servant of David HaMelech, and therefore you're not allowed to have any use of her unless you're Shlomo HaMelech, which is also a king. Now here the story with Avishag was, Omra, she said to David HaMelech, Ninsavan, get married to me. That she was there, she was serving him, taking care of him. So she said, if so, marry me. Omar Allah, so he said to her, seriously, I'm not allowed to marry you. This is based on what we learned before already, that David HaMelech already had 18 wives, which is the maximum, and he says, so I can't marry you. Omar Allah, so she says to him, Chasre leganve, nafshe l'shlom manokit. And what this means is that by a ganev, if he can't steal, because there's nothing to steal. So he says that I'm not stealing because I don't want to steal. But what's the truth? Why isn't he stealing? Because he can't. There is nothing to steal. So she's saying to David HaMelech, you're telling me you don't want to get married to me because you can't, because there's 18 wives that you already have. You don't want to get married to me because you're already old, and therefore you can't get married to me. That's the reason. So now David HaMelech wanted to prove that this is not the case. Amalahu, he said to his servants, Kiruli Bathsheba, call me my wife Bathsheba. And the pasuk says, Vatavi Bathsheba lamelech achadra, Bathsheba came into the room. Amar Rav Yudah Marav said that Bathsheba came into the room and he had relations with Bathsheba to prove to Avishag that he's not old enough, and that's not the reason why he can't marry her. The reason he can't marry her is because Al Pitayra, he's not allowed. He wanted her to see this. So, and he had relations with her, and now Rav said about this, but at that time, she had to wipe herself with 13 mappes for all the times that he had relations with her. And this is just to make the point that the only reason he's not getting married to her is because of what Torah says. Rav Shema bar Abba said, from this story with Avishag and David HaMelech, we could learn how difficult it is in Hashem's eyes, divorce. David HaMelech, they were matter for him to have Avishag, which was a girl, to serve him and even to be secluded with him. But they weren't matter and to be Megarish, one of his 18 wives, and then he'll be able to marry her. Because unless you have a good enough of reason to divorce one of your wives, you're not supposed to divorce. Amar Rabbi Lazar, now connection to this, Rabbi Lazar said, this is also the famous Gemara in the end of of Gittin. Kol HaMegarish is sister Yishayna, one that divorces his first wife he married, a film Mizbeach, Meidadal of Mois. Even the Mizbeach cries for him. Shanam, the Pasuk says, V'zayis shein is tasu, Kusos dima es Mizbach Hashem, that if you'll do this, then the Mizbeach will be covered with tears, B'chi v'anoka, crying and lamenting, Me'ein noit pinoi sala mincha, V'lekachta ratzim yetchem. That there's no karbonis anymore, and you took the will of Hashem away from here. Then the pasuk says, why? Why is the Mizbeach crying? V'amartem alma. What's the crying all about? Al ki Hashem heyed bincho ben eshes nurecha asher bagadta bo. Because you were biged, you divorced, you went against your wife that you married, and v'hi chaverascha ve'eshes brischa, and she was your friend and your wife, and when you divorce her, that's the reason why the Mizbeach is crying. The Marsha actually says that the reason why the Mizbeach cries is because the Mizbeach loses karbonis that would be brought otherwise. When a person is married to his wife, so then she gives birth, and she's a zava or nida, whatever it is, and she has to bring karbonis for this. But now that they're divorced, she doesn't bring these karbonis. How does it happen that a person's wife dies? That's if he owes money that he pledged for tzedakah and he does not pay up to what he owes, and then his wife passes away. Shanam, the pasuk says, if you don't have what to pay what you owe, why would you do this? The Eibush will take away your mishkav from below you, which refers to his wife. Rabbi Yechon also said, person that the first wife he married passed away, it's like the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed in this time. Shanam, the pasuk says, Ben Adam, that I'm going to take away from you what's precious in your eyes, in a plague, and don't eulogize him, don't cry about this. You shouldn't be any tears in your eyes. So here the expression that's used is that machma denecha will be taken away regarding his wife. In another pasuk it says, and what happened? That his wife passed away. So we see that pasuk is referring to his wife. Now, regarding the Beis Hamikdash, it says the same expression of machma denecha, because the pasuk says, "Hineni mechalas mikdashi goyin uschem machma denechem." The Eibush says, "I'll desecrate, I'll destroy the Beis Hamikdash," and it calls it goyin uschem, the strength of Yidden, and also machma denechem, what's precious in your eyes. Amar Rabbi Alexandri said, "Kol adam shemeisa ishtay biyamav," person that his wife dies and when he's alive, olam chashach badai, his whole entire world is dark. Shanamar oil chashach ba'oloi v'neirei olav yidach, that the tent is the light in his tent is dark, and then the candle goes out. Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina amar psiyosav miskatzreis, his steps become shortened, meaning he doesn't have that much energy anymore to walk and do things, to be active. Shanamar, the pasuk says, yitzroi tzadu oinoi, that his koyach tzadi oinoi, that it becomes limited, the koyach that he has. Rabbi Vo says that Atzasai nefeles, his advice falls, meaning he doesn't have the same wisdom anymore. They threw away his advice when in this case when it's talking about when his wife passes away. Regarding marriage, it's difficult by the Eibishter to bring together man and woman, like splitting the sea. Shanema, as the pasuk says, Elikim Moishiv Yechidim Baisa. The Eibusha takes two individuals and puts them in a home. Moitzi Asirim Bakisharis, and he takes out the Yidden from Mitzrayim Bakisharis, which means that he took the Yidden out of Mitzrayim in the month of Nisan when it wasn't too hot, it wasn't too cold. That's why it's called Kisharis, the perfect time. So we're comparing the two. We're comparing marriage to the time of when Yidden went out of Mitzrayim, Kriyas Yamsuf. Okay, the parentheses were not good. They say this is the Gemara in the beginning of Saita as well.
The first and second.
No, so the Gemara here asks, Aini, is this true that a shidduch, zivug, is so difficult? But v'amar Rav Yudah amar Rav, arbaim yoyim, kaid mitziris avlad, 40 days before the fetus is formed, baskal yetzis vaymeres bas plani leplani. There's already a baskal that announced who the shidduch is. And since the Gemara like Hashem, it's not a contradiction because ha b'zivug rishen. That announcement is only regarding the first marriage, and ha b'zivug sheni. When it comes to the second marriage, there it's already kashal l'zavgan, and there because it's according to their maisim. It's not according to the baskal the way it was in the beginning of before the fetus was formed. Amar Shmuel bar Nachman lakoil yesh tmura. Everything you can exchange is replaceable. Chutz me'eshes nurim. Besides a wife, a person married in his youth. Shenem, as the pasuk says, ve'eshes neurim ki timos, that the Eibishter says to Yidden, actually, the Yidden are compared to a wife, in their relationship to the Eibishter, that if you'll be despised, so then there's no replacing. There's no replacing that relationship, and therefore you have to do tshuva and come back to the Eibishter. It's the Mefarshim say, because what it says here, that a wife from youth is not replaceable, that's why we compared it before to the Chorban Beis HaMikdash, because a person can't go then and marry another wife. It's never the same like the wife that he married in his youth. Rav Yehuda taught and told his son Rav Yitzchak, a person does not find kairis ruach, his pleasure or happiness, only with his first wife that he married. Your source should be blessed, the samach, and you're happy, from the wife of your youth. So Amalai, Rav Yitzchak said to his father, Rav Yehuda, kagoy man, like who? So Amalai answered him, kagoyni mecha, like your mother that I'm married to. That's the source of my kairis ruach. But the Gemara asks about this. Aini, is this true that Rav Yehuda had kairis ruach, that he had a happy marriage? Rav Yehuda read a pasuk to his son Rav Yitzchak, where it says, that a wife, I see her to be more bitter than death. She causes him problems and so on. And when he read this pasuk, Rav Yitzchak said to his father, Kagain man, who are you referring to? And he said, Kagaini mecha. He said, this is your mother. So what's the story? Was his mother someone that brought him kairis ruach, or someone that brought him this bitterness? Says the Gemara, that could both be true. On one hand, mitkaf tekife, she was a very strong character, and therefore it was not so easy to deal with her. But at the same time, she also would be flexible in giving in. She didn't hold on to her word. She was mevater. Right? So she was a strong character, but at the same time, though, she was mevater. And that's why he says that that was kairis ruach that he had with his wife. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Unya mishmei derav. Isha goylimhi. A woman is like an unfinished, when you make a keli and it's not yet carved out and shaped properly, so a woman is also unfinished. Why? Because a woman from birth, so she's a besula, she's a virgin, and therefore she's not yet finished. Ve'ena kereses bris, she does not make a bond, el lemisha asa keli, only to the one that opens her and makes her like a vessel that's now is open. Shenema, as the pasuk says, ki boyalayach haisayach Hashem tzvois shmai, referring also to the relationship between the Eibishter and Yidden, but like husband and wife, where the husband is the one that opens her, and therefore with him she makes a bris. Tane, and in a brayso we learned, ein is shmeis el ishtai. When a man passes away, the one that suffers the most, the one that he passed away for, is his wife. And the same in the reverse. Vein isha meisa el bailo. When a wife passes away, she's passing away. The one that misses her the most is the husband. Einish meisa el ishtai shenam. The pasuk says vayamas Elimelech. Elimelech died, and the pasuk says ish nami, the wife of Nami. So even though he had children, there was other people, but it says who was he? The wife of Nami, because she's the one. The husband of Nami, she's the one that suffers the most. And a wife passes away, and it's the husband that is affected the most. And this is the pasuk in this week's parsha. Shenemar, it says, "V'ani b'voyi mipadon meisa alai Rachel." Yaakov says that when I came from Padon, so Rachel died. Meisa alai, that the death of Rachel affected Yaakov more than anybody else. Going back to the Mishnah, it said that you don't see the king when he's taking a haircut. So Tana Rabbanan Abraisi, we learned Melech Mistaper B'chol Yom. A king takes a haircut every single day. Kohen Gadol me'erev Shabbos le'erev Shabbos. Kohen Gadol takes a haircut every Friday. Kohen Hedyet echad l'shloshim yom. A Kohen Hedyet takes a haircut once in 30 days. Now Melech Mistaper B'chol Yom. Why does a king have to groom himself and take a haircut daily? Shenema, because the pasuk says Melech b'yafyoi tachzenei necha. That a king, your eyes should see the king in his beauty. That's a chelik of how the king has to be. The Seichos Melech HaMelech, the Yira, the covet for the king. So therefore he takes, he's groomed and takes a haircut daily. Going back to what it said in the Braise, Kohen Gadol me'erev Shabbos. Kohen Gadol every Erev Shabbos takes a haircut. What's the reason for this? Amar Rav Shmuel bar Nachman, Amar Rav Yonasan, Hoyelu mishmarais mischatshais. Every week and every Erev Shabbos, a new group of Kohanim come to serve in the Beis HaMikdash. So when the new group comes in and they meet the Kohen Gadol, they should meet the Kohen Gadol properly groomed. So therefore, on Erev Shabbos, he takes a haircut. Kohen Hedyet echad l'shloshim yom. What's the source that a Kohen Hedyet takes a haircut once in 30 days? The pasuk says, "V'roisham lo yegalechu," that they don't shave their heads. Upera lo yishalchu. And the pera, they don't cut their hair. Kasam yichsmu as rishayim. They take a haircut. The Gemara is soon going to explain exactly what the term of kasam yichsmu means, but they take a haircut. So here it uses the term upera lo yishalecho. So what do we learn out from this term pera? Pera means hair that grows. Now, pera min nazir. We learn out the term pera that it says there regarding hair that grows from the term pera that it says by a nazir. Ksivacha pera lo yishalechu. Ksivasam gadel pera sar reishay. That by a nazir, he allows his hair to grow long. Now, how long is a nazir have to let his hair grow? Right? One of the things a nazir is not like cut his hair. Now, how long is that? When a person accepts upon himself naziris and doesn't specify a time period, ma'ala alon, just like by a nazir shloishim, it's 30 days. Avkan shloishim. Here as well, by the kain hedyet, when it says that upera lo yishalechu, it means that they shouldn't let their hair grow more than 30 days. Tananami, like it says by the nazir, stam nazir shloishim yom. Stam nazir is if you don't specify a time period, it's 30 days. V'hasa minolan, what's the source for this? That by a nazir it's 30 days. Omer av masne da makra, because the pasuk there says kadosh yiyeh, that he should be holy. Now the word yiyeh is bigematria tlosen. It's bigematria of 30 havo. That's what it is. So therefore, it's 30 days. Now, Rav Papa asks Abaya on this drasha, the pasuk that we brought before. Pera lo yishalechu, eime leilir b'klal. Maybe the pasuk is saying upera, the growth of the hair of 30 days, which is like the nazir, lo yishalechu. Do not allow it to grow even for 30 days. So maybe you should learn from there that they have to take a haircut before 30 days, not once in 30 days, but they shouldn't even allow it to grow for 30 days. Amalei, so Abaye answered, Iksiv lo yishalechu pera. If it would say in the pasuk that lo yishalechu, they should not allow to grow pera, the hair for 30 days, then the pshat would be like you said, that even before 30 days they should take a haircut. Hashid ichsiv u pera. The pasuk first starts off with the term pera, and then it says lo yishalechu. So then I read it as follows: Pera lehevi. Starts off with the word pera, saying that they can let their hair grow for the period of pera, which is like it says by the nazir for 30 days. But shluchi loy l'shalcha. But then beyond that, more than that, they shouldn't allow it to grow more. That's how you read the pasuk, and therefore we know that a kohen hedyet cuts his hair once in 30 days. Okay, now the Gemara addresses, how about the kohen in bisman hazeh? Does this apply to a kohen bisman hazeh as well? So now ihachi, if this is the case, ha'idna nami, today as well, the kohenim should also have to take a haircut once in 30 days. And says the Gemara, why? No, today they don't have to take a haircut because dum yid yayin, just like it is with drinking wine. Ma yayin, just like with drinking wine, bisman biyahu daser. A kohen is not allowed to drink wine in a time of the Beis Hamikdash when he has to come into the Beis Hamikdash to serve. So you're not allowed to serve once you drank a revius of wine. But shalei bisman biyah, but in a time where you're not entering the Beis Hamikdash, shari, you're allowed to drink wine. Af prui reish, the same also with letting the hair grow long. So bisman biyah also, in a time when you have to go into the Beis Hamikdash, they have to groom themselves once in 30 days to take a haircut. But shaloi bisman biyah, shari. But today, when they're not going into the Beis Hamikdash, they're allowed to let their hair grow long. The Gemara asks on this, v'yayin shaloi bisman biyah shari. Is that true that a kohen is allowed to drink wine today, even though it's not in a time when they can go into the Beis Hamikdash? Are they allowed to drink wine today? But vatanya, we learned in the Braise, and here the Gemara actually begins this Braise in the middle of the Braise. Rashi here brings that there's a first part of this Braise. Okay, first let's see what it says in the Braise, then we'll see what Rashi says. But so Rabbi says, my opinion is, Kayanim asurim lishtos yayin lo'ilam, that really Kayanim should be forbidden to drink wine forever. Why? Because if you're going to allow them to drink wine, even today, when we don't have a Beis Hamikdash, what's if the Beis Hamikdash gets built? They're going to have to be ready to go into the Beis Hamikdash right away to be able to do the Aveda. But what should I do? That practically we're not going to apply this Isser because Shetakanasai Kalkalasai. That the fact that the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed, so therefore this itself is a reason that we allow them to drink wine because because now the different mishmarais of exactly who has to go to serve when is not clear anymore. And we're not concerned that maybe the Beis Hamikdash will be built and then suddenly they're going to have to go and serve in the Beis Hamikdash, and therefore they are allowed to go and drink wine. This is what Rebbe said. Now, in the beginning of that Braise, it brought over there that the Rabbanan disagree. The Rabbanan say that a kohen that knows which mishmeres he belongs to is not allowed to drink wine bisman hazeh. And that in that time, in that week that he knows that he has to serve. And if you're a kohen that doesn't know which week you have to serve, then you're not allowed to drink wine forever because you never know when your time is. Abaye, so Abaye said, the fact that Kainim do drink wine today, why is this? Kerebi. It's only according to the opinion of Rebbe. Miklal, the Rabbanan Asri. But from this I see that the Rabbanan, as I mentioned, that's the ratio of this Braise, they hold that a Kain is not allowed to drink wine at all today. So if so, the Gemara is asking, the same should be regarding the haircut of the Kainim, that they should take a haircut once in 30 days, that according to the Rabbanan, if they have to be ready to serve in the Beis HaMikdash, they should have to take a haircut to be able to be ready to go into the Beis HaMikdash immediately.
Which Kain knows which Mishmer is today?
Which what?
Which Kain knows which Mishmer is
According to the Rabbanan, even if you don't know which Mishmer you're from, so then you always have to be careful because you never know. This could be, the Beis HaMikdash could be built right away, and your Mishmer could be not today. Yeah. Now the Rishonim actually add over here that why can't we say that the fact that Kainim don't take a haircut today once in 30 days is because we paskin like Rebbe, just like it said regarding the wine, that you're allowed to drink wine today according to Rebbe. Maybe it's the same thing with a haircut. So the answer, they say, it must be that there's a difference. Regarding wine, that's part of Chayi Nefesh, a person to take away the ability to drink wine. So we're paskin like Rebbe for that. But regarding a haircut, the Gemara doesn't accept that we paskin like Rebbe. Why wouldn't we be machmer like the opinion of the Rabbanan that say that you have to be ready to serve in the Beis HaMikdash immediately? So just like they say you can't drink wine, you shouldn't be allowed to you should have to, that is, take a haircut once every 30 days. And says the Gemara, no, there's a difference. Hassam, by the wine, no time, but the reason why they're not allowed to drink wine is because Meheira Yibana Beis HaMikdash. Immediately the Beis HaMikdash will be rebuilt. And when the Gemara here says Meheira, how quickly is that? The Meheira means very quickly. The Rebbe used to bring this Gemara that you see that the person has to believe the Beis HaMikdash could be built, that within 18 minutes you have to be able to walk into the Beis HaMikdash and serve in the Beis HaMikdash. Because if you drink wine, how long does it take to become sober again? Kidei hiluch mil, just a very short period of time. So Kain's not allowed to drink wine because he should immediately be able to be in the Beis HaMikdash. We need a Kain that's ready to do the Aveda. You ready, Shmuel? And veleke. And if you drink wine, so then you're not going to be available to serve in the Beis HaMikdash. So hachanami. So now the Gemara says, if so, be'ina kain naroy la'aveda veleke. So over here as well. Oh, this is all part of the question of the Gemara, right? It's all part of the Gemara asking the same thing regarding the haircut. That by the Aveda, for the haircut, this is the same thing. You have to have the kain that has the proper haircut, so you should be ready to go into the Beis HaMikdash to do the Aveda. And says the Gemara, it's not the same thing. Regarding the haircut, afshu the misparvayil. So if you want to have the haircut, I'll take a haircut. It takes a very, very quickly, take a haircut and go into the Beis HaMikdash. Frankly, Gemara, so it's the same thing with the wine. Hasanami, after denying portavayil. Regarding the wine, he can just take a very short nap and it'll sober up and he'll be able to go into the Beis HaMikdash. Ravacha said, derech mil, vishina, if a person walks the way of a mill, or sleep, or when a person sleeps, kolshu, just a little bit. Mefigan esayayin, it gets rid of the effect of the wine. And velavit marallah, didn't we learn on this? Oh, this is already the answer of the Gemara. Okay, so the Gemara is asking that if so, you can sober up very quickly, so why should it be also for a kain to drink wine today? Answers the Gemara, but velavit marallah, didn't we learn about this? If you drank a little bit of wine, if you drank a revius of wine, then this is the case. A little small nap will get rid of the wine. But if you drank more, and then you'll go out and walk. So then that itself will actually cause you to be more intoxicated. And then you'll go to sleep, you'll wake up, you'll be even more, your brain will be more foggy. So you won't be able to sober up. So therefore, a kain is not allowed to drink wine today. But a haircut, you can take a haircut very quickly. Another pshat the Gemara says, Ravashi Omar. Ravashi says that the halacha of not drinking wine and the halacha of taking a haircut before you go into the Beis HaMikdash is not the same. Shesuya yayin the machli aveda. When it comes to drinking wine, a kain that drinks wine and does the aveda in the Beis HaMikdash, the machli aveda. This actually desecrates the whole aveda. Gazrabu rabbanan. Here the rabbanan were guys that a kain shouldn't drink wine bisman hazeh. Pruei raish. However, if you don't have a haircut and you go and serve in the Beis HaMikdash, delay machli aveda. This does not desecrate the aveda. You're not allowed, but it's not machal the aveda. Like gazrabu rabbanan. The rabbanan weren't geyser on this. Okay, but on this distinction of Ravashi, the Gemara asks from a Braise. Meisvei, in the Braise it says, Ve'elu shebemisa. The following, a chayiv misa b'dei shemayim. Pruei reish, if you didn't have a proper haircut and you serve in the Beis HaMikdash, or shesuya yayin. and you drink wine and you go into the Beis HaMikdash. So the Brisa clearly says both are the same. Regarding the Chi of Misa, that is, the punishment of Misa B'dei Shemayim. Now what's the source for this? We know that if a Kohen drinks wine and is intoxicated and comes to the Beis HaMikdash, she's Chai of Misa D'chsiv. After the story of Nadav and Avihu, the Pasuk says, Yayin v'shechar al tesh atov v'necha, don't drink wine, v'loi tamusu. And so you shouldn't be Chai of Misa. From where do we know that if you didn't take a haircut and you serve in the Beis HaMikdash, you chayiv misa? The iskesh shesuya yayin leprui roish, because these two are compared in a pasuk in Yecheskel. The pasuk says v'roisham lo yigalechu v'opera lo yishalchu, that they did not shave their heads, they did not cut their hair. And then it's there in the pasuk it also says v'yayin lo yishtu v'gaimer, and they shouldn't drink any wine. So these two are compared there regarding the kain. Shouldn't let his hair, lo yishalechu means they shouldn't let their hair grow long and they shouldn't drink wine. So since in the pasuk by Yecheskel, by a kain, it compares the two, so just like if you drink wine, you chayiv misa, afpruy roish b'misa. So too if you do not take a haircut and you serve in the Beis HaMikdash, you chayiv misa. That's what the Brisa says. Now, umina, from this we learn out, if we compare the two, then we should say, ma shesuya yayin the machli aveda. Just like one that drinks wine, it desecrates the aveda, as it says there in the pasuk that it's mechalal da aveda lahavdol ben kodesh ben achayil, that it's mechalal da aveda. Af pruy roish the machli aveda. So too a kohen that serves and he lets his hair grow long, it's mechalal da aveda. So therefore the Gemara is asking, how could Rav Ashi say that Chacham were not geyser about the haircut, that a kohen should take a haircut today because it's not going to be mechalal da aveda? But here we see in the pasuk of Yecheskel that they're compared. So this Gemara concludes kashya. This remains a question. Ravina said to Rav Ashi, hi, until Yecheskel said this. The Kainim before this, did they know this? How did they know to compare about taking a haircut just like it is with wine? So only later on Yecheskel said this. Now l'taimeich. So Rav Ashi says back to Ravina, you're asking me about this point, so I'll ask you similar about something else. Hadam Rav Chisda, and Rav Chisda said that this following point here, Mitoris Moshe Rabbeinu le'lamadno, that from Chumash and the Psukim of Moshe Rabbeinu, we didn't learn about this until Yecheskel said this. And what's that? Kol ben necha adol leiv v'adol basal le'yavi al mikdash l'shoseni. That a kohen that does not have a bris, he's a adol, should not come and serve the Beis HaMikdash. It doesn't say the psul of a kohen serving as an adol without a bris. It doesn't say this. It only says it in Yecheskel. So adolei ba Yecheskel man amra, until Yecheskel came and said this, did the kohen know this? How did they know this before? So Ella, what's the answer? Gemara Gemiri Lo. This was already a halach l'Moshe Misinai. It was a tradition halach l'Moshe Misinai from before. And then Yecheskel came and wrote it down in the pasuk. That's regarding the odel. Hachanami Gemara Gemiri Lo. The Kainim knew it's a halach l'Moshe Misinai that they have to take a haircut before they do the avodah. Then Vasi Yecheskel v'chsamcha akra, and Yecheskel then wrote it in the pasuk. Okay, so now really it comes out that this whole thing, the comparison between not drinking wine and taking a haircut before you do the avodah is all really halacha l'Moshe Misinai. So now, according to one girs in the Gemara goes back and answers the question that it asked before in Rav Ashi, V'chi gamri halacha, what is this halacha l'Moshe Misinai l'misa? We compare the two only regarding that if you serve after you drink wine or without a haircut, then in both cases there's a chiyuv of misa. But la'achule avodah le'gemiri. The halacha l'Moshe Misinai does not include that in both cases the avodah will become desecrated, that the avodah is puzzled. It's only the halacha l'Moshe Misinai is only regarding one point. So therefore, the question of Ashi is not a question. Regarding not taking a haircut, it's not machal daveda. Okay, now the Gemara goes back to determine the pasuk that was mentioned regarding the kohen taking a haircut. My chasim yichsemu as reshayim, that to take a haircut, it calls it with this term of chasim yichsemu. What does it mean? So he says, Tanan Abraisi we learned kimin taspairis lulainus. This is a unique haircut which is called the haircut of a lulainus. Now, what is this haircut? My taspairis lulainus. Amar Rav Yudah Mashmul tasparte yichida. This is a very beautiful and unique haircut. There's nothing like it. Hey Chidami, what kind of haircut is this? Amar Rav Ashi, Reisha Shalzeh, Bitzad, Ikri Shalzeh. You cut the hairs that the end of one hair, that's where the next hair begins. It's all perfectly cut. This is before they had haircut machines that can cut, all in the perfect size. They were able to cut that it was a perfect haircut. Shalus Rebbe, they asked Rebbe, Ezeot Taspere Shal Kain Gadol. What's the haircut of a Kain Gadol? Amalan Suru Mitaspere Shal Ben El Osha. Go and see the haircut of Ben El Osha, which was the son-in-law of Rebbe, and he paid a lot of money in order to learn how to do this haircut. Tanu Rebbe Yomer, Rebbe said, Lo yalchinam pizah ben alasha as ma'isaf. Ben Elisha, he paid a lot of money not for no reason. He paid money in order for someone to teach him the haircut of this kohen gadol, exactly how it's done. That's what he spent all his money on. He wanted to know how exactly you make this haircut. Hadran Allah kohen gadol. This is the conclusion of the second Perek of Masechta Sanhedrin. We shall return to you the second Perek of Masechta Sanhedrin. Wow.